Welcome to the Euro Lounge.
How you doing, Benny?
Good. Danielle, you?
I am great.
What are we talking about today?
The absolute worst cars that you can buy.
Ooh, that's a good topic.
It
Harsh,
is.
though.
Controversial.
Controversial. Exactly. It's up for debate.
Exactly. And that's what we're going to
I
do.
know.
We're going to
Exactly.
debate
That's
it.
what we're here for.
It's my opinion and your opinion.
That's right. And do they align? Let's see.
Well, we'll find
Let's
out.
find out.
What's the first car on our list here? The 2013 Smart Fortwo.
I'm laughing just because I'm just picturing the car.
You know, I actually wanted one of these
One? Yeah.
at one point.
We actually owned one.
Really?
Yeah. Back at the beginning of our business, this was like, I don't know, 10 years ago. We bought two of them, crashed, and we did one out of two. And let me tell you all about it. I mean, so again, it depends. It's like if you like it, it's a cool concept of a really tiny little vehicle,
Yeah.
which is unlike any other vehicles out there, right? I mean, BMW did it back in the 60s, I think. They tried that one
Isetta?
uni car,
Yeah.
but that was kind of a trial. Like, it didn't really work out.
It had three wheels.
It had,
Like, let's be
yeah.
But no, the smart car, I mean, you guys worked on it. Like, was it worth it?
No, so I mean, this is my opinion, in my opinion only. But Mercedes never really fine-tuned that vehicle.
Okay.
Never.
Okay.
Like everybody that I've talked to, everybody that owned these vehicles, everybody that brought those vehicles in,
Yeah.
always have issues. Module communication,
Oh.
calibration, adaptation, it never works. Not to mention the transmission. It's a sequential gearbox,
Yes, I remember seeing
and there's just all the hydraulic actuators trying to shift gears.
that. Do they have a manual one?
Manual, I don't know.
That's a good question.
I want to say no, but I could stand corrected.
I feel like I've seen somewhere a manual CDI
Somebody's
or something.
done some kind of. Well, it's a sequential gearbox, so ultimately it's a manual transmission. All you have to do is just modify a couple of things, add some linkages. Regardless, the engine, the transmission, they have really low reviews.
Okay.
One thing that I've heard though, and again we could look into this, is safety ratings is pretty high.
I've seen that.
They have a really high safety rating.
Yes.
That was
They're
funny.
they're really, really, really dense. And like,
Yeah, they're
if
very robust.
Yeah.
Yeah, and because they're so lightweight, they have this rebounds effect. So if you hit a transport truck
Yeah.
in a Volvo, there's so much density to your vehicle, so much weight to your vehicle that the impact gets transferred through your vehicle.
Yes.
On a Fortwo, it's so light and so small
You
that it
just
just
bounce
gets
off?
pushed out of the way. It bounces out of the way. I'm sure you would get a bruise or
Of
two.
course.
That's one thing that I heard. I mean, that's a good one.
Okay, but fuel economy on those is supposed to be amazing.
Supposed to be amazing. That's the thing. It's what is good fuel efficiency. So my brother has the 2013 X5 diesel,
The E70.
the E70,
Yeah.
and he gets like 7 liters per 100 kilometers.
Okay, for an SUV, that's great.
That's amazing for any
Yeah.
vehicle. I don't know if the Fortwo gets much better than that.
No, it must.
No, it doesn't. We can look that up actually.
Okay, can we look that up real
Yeah.
quick?
We can look that up really quick. The versatility of the SUV, like I mean, it's not even comparable. What you can do with an X5
Yeah.
E70 versus what you can do with a more design, I guess. They were more designed for European. You've been to Europe, right? Germany?
Yeah.
Like there's some side roads that you have to fold your mirrors in to
Yeah,
actually get
yeah,
by.
yeah. The
And
roads
I've
are
been in those
tight.
situations.
The roads are
roads
really
are tight.
tight.
And those cars are handy.
That's true.
It's funny. You go to Europe and you see a Ram 1500. Looks like a monster truck in a driveway.
The thing is, you don't see a Ram 1500.
When you do, I have seen it.
You've
And
seen
I was
it,
like,
eh?
that's a massive truck.
Oh my gosh.
So with
Also,
that-
they're anemic.
yeah. Yes.
I was reading up. It takes 14 seconds
Yeah.
to get to 60 miles an hour. 0 to 60 in 14 seconds is crazy. to
That is
me.
great.
No, it's
That is great. So it takes you a long time to get hit by a transport truck.
It's dangerous,
Yeah,
man. You're
exactly,
trying to get
yeah,
on the
that's
highway. You can't.
That is one of the. And for you, have you ever sat in one?
No, I haven't.
They're not like I feel tall in a smart car,
Really?
and I'm much shorter than you. So
Yeah.
okay, so that is just no.
It's not even an
no
option
go.
then. Okay, Smart Fortwo. Don't buy it.
I mean, if you have one and you like it and you enjoy it,
Sell it.
yes,
Get
Sell
rid
it.
of it. Well, you
Exactly.
can. What
all
else
right.
do we got?
So
Um,
on my list, the B5 Audi All-Road.
okay.
Boy.
Why the B5? I
There is
personally
so-
love B5s.
Listen, I owned an all-road and I owned a B5 A4 too,
Okay.
and an S4.
Okay, so you're a
And
B5 guy.
I used to be a B5 fanatic. Actually, the first vehicle that I lowered living in Ontario was a B5.
Oh my
It was
goodness.
sweet, man. But I'm talking particularly about the all-road
Okay.
and the S4. So,
And
but
the
the
S4?
S4, well, hold on, let me get into this. Let's break it up. Okay, let's break it down. The problem with the all-road. So first of all, right now they're 25-year-old vehicles, right?
Okay.
So if you are to go on Kijiji and you look for a 300 plus horsepower vehicle that you can find in manual, you go and you look for a B5 S4 on all-road, and it sounds like a lot of horsepower and you can get them relatively cheap. The problem is they are such complex vehicles that today we've only seen issues with them. So let's start with the air suspension in the all-road. Very problematic. You cannot find used parts for those vehicles because they've been obsolete for like 20 plus years, right? So if you buy used parts, they have very high mileage on them. Two, if you buy brand new, they're pretty expensive. So that's the thing. You buy a car to be reliable. You spend $2,000 on the car, and then you get an airbag that blows, and that's gonna cost you $1,500 to repair. What have you done, right? Again, these go. If you own one and you love it, you've had it forever, you've maintained it very well. Good for you. This is a generic question, right?
Yeah.
So, two, the
You've owned
engines.
them though.
Sorry?
You've owned them though.
Yes.
So you know.
Again, this is 10 years ago. So,
Yes, you're right.
so time has gone by, and I mean, I've learned a lot more about the vehicles, and I
Okay.
learned how to be more financially responsible. So, and the other one, the 2.7 liter, as very well known, it's a
Okay.
very complex engine, and
It's a twin turbo, right?
yes, 2.7 liter twin turbo V6, and we have one in the parking lot right now.
Okay.
And every single time when you get those vehicles in, the problems are so complex. Getting to anything, it's such a big job that it just becomes, how do you quote a customer $2,500 to repair a vacuum leak
Wow.
when the car is only worth $2,000?
But to get to the vacuum leak.
That's right. So
It's
you have to
ridiculous.
diagnose it, and you have to take so many things apart because the engines are so compacted.
Wow.
Yeah. So very difficult to work on those engines,
Okay.
and it's just like very expensive. They were very complex, and they're getting old. That's my point.
Okay, so question. What about for like an automotive enthusiast, like a car guy, a guy who's going to buy a car and maybe pull the engine and rebuild it, reseal it,
Yeah, but
refresh it? What is it worth it if he finds himself, a little?
you have to like it. You have to really be passionate about that particular vehicle to be able to do that to it.
Wow.
Also, are you gonna find a really clean all-road that's 25 years old in Ontario, in Canada?
No.
You might have to import one from Florida, and then what you said to your friends, hey, buddy, guess what I just imported? An all-road.
Yeah, no, that's not.
Yeah, so I guess I would put it at the bottom, I said it's a vehicle that you wouldn't look to buy.
Yeah.
Again, if you're that person that's always wanted one, good for you, man. Take it apart, or you've had it, you've owned it for 15 years and you've maintained it.
Yeah.
Go ahead and do
By
it,
all
right?
means.
By all means, keep it.
Wow. Okay.
Because this is the topic. Is like, what's the worst vehicle to buy? But in terms of what? Financial. If we're talking, as in, is it financially irresponsible to buy these vehicles? Are they just not reliable?
I would almost argue that almost any car is financially irresponsible because all cars break.
All cars break, but some go up in value more than
Some,
others.
some are investments.
Some are investments.
but that's very rare.
Yeah. And it's a passion that, like, we're driven by this passion, right? We're car
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah, we'll waste our
I
money.
mean,
all
other
day
people
long.
go and spend money on hunting, on
Yeah.
fishing, on boats. We like cars, right? That's what we do. So,
Expensive hobby.
okay, so what's your opinion?
I mean, I've always loved the B5 and how they look, but
Mhm.
I'm gonna take your word for it.
Yeah.
Their suspension sounds scary.
It is,
And the
and
complexity of the
again,
motors.
they do sell like full, complete
Rebuild kits.
Well, conversion kits. You can
Oh,
take their
okay.
suspension out and you put
Yeah, yeah.
springs and everything else in. But ultimately you spend all that money and you still have a 25-year-old all-road that doesn't have a lot of value.
It's not worth it.
Hmm?
It's not worth it.
It's not worth it.
Okay, I'm gonna add a car to our list that's actually not on the list.
Okay,
But as you said,
Hit
air
me.
suspension.
hit me.
I'm gonna say that one of the worst cars you could buy today is the first generation BMW X5, the E53. And I only say that because I've owned two.
Yeah,
And I
okay.
know the problems There are so many. I just think it's a financially irresponsible decision unless you really love working on old BMWs. Air suspension problems, like he said.
Yeah.
If you get the one with the M62, timing chain issues. The one with the N62, you have the valve stem seals that go, valve cover leaks.
Which is a big job to get done.
Yeah.
And good luck putting that valve cover back on. So the valve cover it's very difficult to access, and they have plastic lips, guides on the inside of the cover, and they always pinch the cover as it goes in.
It's not
pinches
fun.
the gasket. It's not a fun
and
job
you have
to
to
do.
line it up with the this is actually an N62 behind us.
Oh yeah.
You have to line it up with the
Spark plug tubes.
spark plug tubes.
Yeah. They always fall in, and then you realize later, and you take it apart.
It's a hot mess.
And I guess if you like this vehicle particularly,
Yeah.
and you love working on cars, it's a passion. You work with your brother, your sister, your wife, your dad.
For sure.
All power to you.
Yeah.
But if you're to buy that vehicle to be cheap and efficient, and you take it to the mechanic, and he's gonna
reliable.
charge you $1,800 to do two valve cover gaskets,
And you bought the car for $2,000.
I know.
Yeah,
That's a little
it's not worth
financially
it.
responsible.
Combine that with random electrical issues.
Yeah.
Door handles that fail pretty much monthly.
Yes.
Lock issues. A very nice suspension system, but like all the ball joints and joints and rear subframe bushings are going to need to be replaced.
Yeah.
Very likely on a 20-plus-year-old car at this point.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just don't think it's wise.
I know. Do you have the 4.8 IS?
I do.
So you have the M5 E53.
But it has its fair share of
Okay,
problems.
let me say one thing though.
Okay.
We had a 6-speed manual one once. That's cool. I'm just gonna leave it right
That was
there.
That was a 3-liter.
3-liter though.
Oh
Yeah.
man, that's such a rare one.
But that was manual.
Yeah,
That
that's
was
a
kinda
nice
cool.
one. I didn't even talk about the transmission issues, but
Yeah.
just don't buy them.
Okay, I know the topic. I know, like, I really want to say about this.
Okay.
The X3 though.
Okay.
That generation, the best car to own.
Okay. This is a switch.
Okay, this is a switch. I mean, I know this is probably just for a different podcast, but I gotta say this. I gotta get it off my chest. So that
E83.
generation, which is 2001, I believe, to 2006,
Is it 2000? Okay, yeah.
and maybe 2002
Maybe.
to 2006. That generation
Yeah.
was the best vehicle, the most reliable. It did not have the same type of window regulators, the same type of door handles that the E53s have. They never failed. Because it's the simple cable,
the cable.
that goes attaches directly to the latch. Very reliable, never had any issues.
The motors.
The motors, well, so if you get the earlier generations up to 2004, you get the M54. Very good, bulletproof engines.
Yeah,
As everything else, you gotta maintain it.
of course.
You gotta, you can't have it
But-
with 300,000 kilometers and no oil changes.
We've seen very high mileage.
Very high mileage.
M54s that have not been maintained.
No, correct.
Still
We
running.
actually have one that we bought off of a customer, and it's got almost 400,000 kilometers. And she came in for oil changes every 12,000 kilometers.
Wow.
I don't even think we've ever done a training service on it.
Wow.
Yeah. And the reason she dumped it is because it just rotted out. She lived on a side road, and it was just rotten. That's it. But
That's a
other
shame.
than that, she bought another one. She bought
She
another
loved it so
one,
much.
and she loved it so much. Yeah, of course. Yeah, very reliable. Engines are very good. Even the N52s are really good engines.
Yeah, they're solid.
Which is 2005 and 2006. Actually, all the way to 2011 when they changed the new body style. Very good. They have the electrical water pump. And again,
Yeah.
people say they're very unreliable because you have to change the pump. Fair enough. Those pumps, when they fail, they're expensive.
It's expensive. Yeah.
It's expensive to repair because you have to do the thermostat. The pump itself is like $600 to $800.
Yeah.
And it's quite a bit of labor. But you do it once. Again, the vehicle's 15, 16, 18 years old. And it's got 20,000 kilometers. And you have to replace it and you say it's unreliable. It's just hard
It's not
to...
that
It's not
crazy.
that, right?
Yeah.
You do it once.
Yeah.
And you replace it with a VDO pump, not a cheap Chinese.
Yeah.
And VDO, actually, you can get the all aluminum pumps now.
Oh, okay.
Much more reliable.
Okay.
So,
E83.
going back to the...
E83.
E83 is the way to go. Is the way to go. And you can get them as cheap as like $2,000.
They are so
Even
cheap right
cheaper.
now.
Yeah.
So cheap right now.
We bought one.
Yeah.
I think we paid $600. And it had around 200,000 kilometers. Clean body, nice interior. It was the IS. And what did you do? Oh, it was flood. It was hydrolocked.
Oh,
Oil
my
throughout the
goodness.
intake. And it's very common. So what happens? The PCV system.
Yeah.
Yeah, you change it. You change out the PVC. You take the intake manifold off and you change the whole valve. You change all the hoses. It's like a $300 kit.
Okay.
Yeah, you flush out the system
And it's good
and
to
you're
go.
good to go. We bought it for $600.
Wow.
Yeah. So, okay.
That's a car you should buy.
Thank you, BMW, for sponsoring this show.
I know, right? No, they're great cars.
Yeah. Okay. What else? What else we got on the list?
I brought up the E53. Said stay away. What do you have for me?
On the E53?
No, on another car.
On another car. Okay. Ford Focus.
Just
Okay.
generally.
Focus on this. Okay. No, the generations, like, I know the generations that's 2011, 2017, I believe. And that is the generation that had issues with the engine. Actually, they used that engine in several other vehicles, and they had issues with their timing chains. But many vehicles do, but that particular engine had issues with it and the transmission.
Ooh.
It was, to this date, I don't think Ford has been able to calibrate those transmission properly and just wears out the clutches prematurely. So you get a typical, if you Google this, 2013 Ford Focus, transmission jerking, misshifting, noisy whistling, it's the clutches. And many people have had them replaced. We had a couple customers that we sent them to the dealer. They had the extended warranty. They replaced them under warranty. 3 months later, they failed again.
That's not a good design.
And we've heard this on most Ford Focuses. Yes, you may be the person that has that Ford Focus out there with 300,000 kilometers, and good for you. But I'm talking generically, right? On average, most of those Focuses were... And the problem is they're not cheap. That's the thing. We had customers that paid $6,000 to $8,000 for a vehicle with 180,000 kilometers.
Wow.
On a Ford Focus. We just said you can buy a 2007 X3 for a couple of grand.
No,
right?
You're right. And it doesn't even look like anything
And it
special.
doesn't.
It's just a generic
It's not that
car.
comfortable. Even the fully loaded, I don't know the trim exactly, but with the leather seats and it has the...
Titanium. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, it has the M-Link Bluetooth stuff. It's not that comfortable. Doesn't look that good.
It's a
The
shame.
buttons freeze all the time. And
Really?
it's just, it doesn't have the appeal. And we just spend $8,000 for that. To call it a reliable vehicle, I know we may be European...
Enthusiasts.
Well, we are European enthusiasts, but we might be biased towards European cars.
A little bit.
But I mean, next podcast, we're going to talk about the European cars and why you should buy those versus American or imports. We'll get to that.
Stay tuned for that one,
Stay tuned
guys.
for that one, yeah. That'll be next on my list. And again, it's just mainly because you're paying a lot of money. You're not going to buy that vehicle for $1,000.
It's not worth it.
Yeah, $6,000 to $8,000 on average for 200,000 kilometers.
There's another car that I
boy.
want to add to the list that is along the same lines. People buy it thinking that it's going to be an economical choice and thinking that it's going to be reliable. It has all these features, but it is just poorly made. And that is the 2013 Hyundai Elantra. Now, I've seen these things go for like anywhere from 6 to like 10 grand in the past couple of years. And I don't like you said, I don't know how they were able to sell for that much money when there's a class action lawsuit against Hyundai for those engines actually like wearing down like the cylinder walls.
They do, yeah.
And then they just have to get a new
Both
engine.
their V6s and their 4-cylinders.
How can they produce an engine like that? That to me is just an easy stay away from that car, guys.
I would say poorly manufactured. I'll say this: my wife had a Kia Carnival.
Okay.
I think we
That's
had
the minivan, right?
The minivan, yeah. We had it for 2 years. Had the V6. She loved the vehicle.
Okay.
The comfort, the features in it. It was a really good vehicle.
They have so much features
They
that
do.
you can't get in these other cars.
No, that's right. And I think we paid $48,000. This was in 2022, I think.
Okay.
Brand new. We sold it 2 years later with 80 or 90,000 kilometers for, I believe it was like 2,000 below what we paid for it.
Really?
Yeah. It was a very good deal. She
That's
loved
a really good deal. Then.
Relatively efficient. But the reason I got rid of it at that time, she didn't even want to get rid of it. It was because I know
what's
these
coming.
engines. I know what's coming. I was just out of a warranty, and I know what's coming.
Oh my word.
Kia and Hyundai. Those engines, they've never, for 20 years, they have the same issues.
I don't understand how.
It's
maybe things are different now. I don't know.
we dealt with the customers. He had a Hyundai Santa Fe, 2016, low kilometers, 120,000 kilometers. She bought it from the dealership. On her way home, the check engine light came on. She had it towed here, engine seized. Yeah. She went, I'm talking the day of. The day
That's
she picked it
horrible.
up, that happened. And this is not the only story. I have a couple like that. But this particular one, it was a 2016 with low kilometers. She got it here. I think the vehicle sat here for almost a year or longer. Because she went between the dealership. She contacted Amvic. There's nothing they were going to do about it. No warranty. We contacted Hyundai. I said, hey, go to Hyundai and talk to them. This is a common issue.
Yeah.
And at that time, they didn't even have enough engines to supply. They had given away so many engines that they couldn't even provide one. And it got to the point where I believe they refused to, they said that they're not going to cover anything, even if they get new engines in. Anyways, we ended up rebuilding it for her.
Wow.
Over a year later.
Wow.
So it was like we worked with her, we helped her out, but I mean,
That's an unlikely case. Most shops are going to say you need to find
no,
a new
yeah,
engine.
yeah. I mean, she was a good customer.
Yeah.
We advised against it, but again, and I don't even remember exactly, but it was definitely $15,000 to $18,000 that she paid for this vehicle.
Ooh,
Yeah,
that's painful. My aunt had the same one, Santa Fe.
Yeah.
I can't remember what motor it had in it, if it was the V6 or whatnot.
yeah.
But every time she started it, we just hear this rattling.
Yeah.
I tell her, I'm like, I don't know if that's right. Like, you should get that checked out.
It's
It sounds
just
like
a
the
timing chain.
chains. Man, one day,
Yeah.
it blew a hole in the
Oh,
side
yeah,
of the
yeah.
motor. And it sat for maybe a year. And I don't think they got more than like $4,000 for
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Well, so if right now a customer drops off a 2018
Yeah.
Hyundai, whatever it is, with 40,000 kilometers that sees the engine, I probably wouldn't give them more than $2,000 because I have no interest. Those engines used are expensive to buy.
Really?
They're expensive.
Well,
to
I guess
buy.
it's because they're so far and few between.
That's
in working
right.
Order.
That's where that work. Yeah. So if you call a wrecker and they tell you we have this engine with 40,000 kilometers,
Yeah.
you don't put that much value on it.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, that doesn't mean anything, but yet they're expensive because, like you said. Wow. So that's the thing. It's like you get into something that's, but people are not necessarily educated on this.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that everybody is. Maybe people that buy cars like this, maybe they're not even car people,
I don't think they are.
right? But I feel like call your mechanic.
Absolutely.
Like talk to them about it. Most mechanics work on these vehicles. They know, like, and this is free advice. If our customers call us, actually not even our customers, if anybody calls me and asks me for advice, I'll give them 4 or 5 minutes out of my time for free. Give them my personal opinion.
You're a nice guy.
Oh, thank you very much. So I would say just ask. Don't just go and buy it.
No, for real.
The salesman is going to sell you on it, of course. So that's that. What else do we got on that list?
Well, we have one more vehicle on our list that Stefan actually said we should throw this on the list. And you know what? I originally did kind of agree with him because I've never owned one, but I've heard horror stories.
Wait. Are we talking about the
yeah.
BMW i3?
No, that's not what we're talking about. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about any BMW with an M54 in it.
Oh. Ooh.
Stefan said very specifically, if you don't maintain it,
Yeah.
it'll be the worst car you could ever own.
Yeah, for sure. So they can be the best or worst engines ever. It depends how you maintain it.
Do not let them talk you out of buying an N54.
What do you think it's actually a wise decision to
No, I
get
mean,
into?
so again, Stefan knows a lot about these engines.
Mhm.
He's built so many, and we're in the middle of building 1,000 horsepower one.
Oh, that's
right
gonna
now.
be cool.
So people should be tuning into
Tune in
Instagram,
for that, guys.
TikTok,
And
whatever
YouTube.
else, and YouTube. That's gonna be a cool build.
Mhm.
But he's right. He is right. I gotta say this though. We do have customers that have high kilometers in their 335s, 135s that have barely maintained them, and they still go
With higher kilometers?
with high kilometers. Yeah, but he is right. They put out a lot of horsepower, like 330 factory. And the thing is with the N54s. Oh, this is a topic for another.
I know.
day.
We'll have to do another
We're
video
gonna do another
on the
video about the
N54s.
N54s. But they're so easy to tune, so inexpensive to get 450 to 500 horsepower with just a couple bolt-ons and a tune off the shelf. And people drive them very aggressively. That's the thing.
Your brake stuff.
They break stuff. Yeah, you know, hey, my charge pipe broke down.
Yeah.
Well, it's not because it's necessarily poorly designed. It's just because it's old.
And it's made of plastic. Yeah.
And it's made of plastic and drove it really hard.
It is what it is.
So it is true. And like that will get you stranded on the side of the road. And of course, if you're talking about reliability, if you're stuck on the side of the road,
That's
Doesn't
not very
matter
reliable.
what it is.
Yeah.
It's called unreliable.
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily the car's fault. So it's true. It's true. They can be the worst or the best engines to own. But when we're gonna get into this topic, we're gonna get deep into it.
Yeah.
But ultimately, N54 is probably the best engine so far. You can argue with the B58, but I guess they're too new.
They are still new.
They're still new.
But man, they're making waves.
They are making waves.
Can't
they are
deny
making
that.
waves. But boys, there's a lot to talk about the N54. I can't wait to get into it.
All right.
So,
Well, is that it?
I think that's it. I mean, on our list, there's another 15,000 vehicles that are the worst vehicles to buy.
We'll save those for another podcast episode.
Exactly. But, like, I mean, what do you got to say? Okay, we listed these vehicles, but what if they have these vehicles? What if they already own them?
If you're the owner of one of these vehicles and it hasn't given you any issues, like he said, that's great. Continue to drive it and stay with your regular maintenance. And hopefully you don't see too many issues in your ownership. But if you are looking to buy any one of these vehicles, please just talk to a mechanic or leave a comment on the video. Reach out to us. And like Benny said, he'll give you a free 4 to 5 minutes of his advice.
4 or 5 minutes or 4 or 5 seconds?
That's not enough time.
No, yeah.
But seriously, seek counsel and make sure you're not making an unwise decision, because there are a lot of cars out there that are just not a good option. That's it. Thanks for listening, guys.
Thank you. See you next time.